Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and I'm doing a very quick video on how to deal with really small parties in your game. Now, if you have something like 4, 5, 6 players in your group, it's pretty easy to run the game of Dungeons & Dragons 5e. But if you have, say, 3 players, and it's usually my limit, I don't usually go lower than that, it can get a bit more difficult. I find 3 players is risky, but you can still do it. So what happens when you have less than 3 players, say 1 player or 2 players? Here's a couple of things that I would suggest that you do so that you can get through your game without things sort of falling apart. The first thing is, if you have, say, just a couple of players in your group and you can't get any more, I want you to consider giving them some additional levels. Don't start them at level 1 and allow them to multi-class. It's advisable that each one of them have healing abilities so that if one goes down, the other can at least heal the other to get them back up. If they're not going to take levels in Bard or Cleric or Paladin or even the Ranger, somebody who can actually cast healing spells, Goodberry, Cure Wounds, then you need to provide them with at least enough funds or a way of getting hold of healing potions so that they can at least pour them down the downed character's throat so they can get them back up in the fight. So that would be one of the first things I would consider doing. The next thing is, if you've got a small group, you need to make the group bigger. So start developing a Facebook group. This is what I did to expand my ability to sort of get players. Create a Facebook group and make sure you label it for your locale so that people can actually find it. I found that it helped here in New Zealand. The group that I started with, say, 60 people, and it's grown to 1,000 people now, right across New Zealand, so it's expanded. That will help you find more players so that you can get from having 1 or 2 players to having 3 or 4 players, or maybe more. Another thing that you can do is give your players either henchmen or an animal companion. And treat the animal companion or the henchman or henchwoman as another character, but with no real personality behind it, so that they don't have to try and role play it. It's always difficult to give one player multiple characters to play. That can be a little bit hard to do sometimes, but you can give them sort of non-specific animal companions, whether it be a panther or a cat or some other thing, and level up that animal companion or that henchman so that it's in line with the other player characters. The only thing is they won't have necessarily personality traits, ideals, bonds and flaws. They are just there to help hold the front line and give you a few more numbers so that if somebody goes down, there's somebody still around to actually get the others back up. That'll help balance things out. Now you can give players more than one character to play if you're in a small group of, say, 1 or 2, but it's, like I said, very difficult to do that, and I think more pressure than you need to actually provide. So that's why I recommend using animal companions. Give them each an animal companion or a henchman or henchwoman as support. Now, another aspect that you can start looking at as a dungeon master is consider the way that you structure your monsters and your encounters. The more monsters on the table, or the more NPCs or villains that they have to face, the more dangerous it is for them, because there's more attacks, and as a result there's more chance that they will go down. And as soon as one player goes down, then there's got to be somebody to get them back up, and that's the real problem. You don't really want them going down too much. So try to limit the number of enemies that they face. So stick to 1 or 2, particularly if you have a group of just 2, and that way that the numbers are on their side rather than on your monster's side, and you'll have less problems with character death happening, often. Otherwise, it'll happen quite a lot. Another aspect to dealing with your monsters encounters is use the slow boil technique. I haven't gone into this in a lot of detail, but give them small, easy encounters, things that are not based on the Dungeon Master Guide for encounter building. Forget about that. That's absolutely useless to you right now. You are dealing with a small group. Go with something that will allow you to figure it out as you go, because every player is different. They have different skill levels, they have different characters. You've got to deal with the vagaries or the randomness of a dice roll. Nobody can determine whether you're going to roll 1s or 20s, so you've got to take that into consideration as well. So slow boil means give them easy encounters and slowly increase the difficulty so you can figure out where is a suitable level for your campaign. Now, I think that pretty much covers everything in terms of running really small groups through Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Now, the key to this is not using just one technique. You have to use all of it together for it to work. If you don't, you'll find that there will be things that will come across, or things will crop up, and the whole thing will just come undone. I hope that has been helpful to somebody, and if it has, please share, like and subscribe. Look, make a comment below if you have a very small group of players and you are trying to figure out how to run that campaign. I might be able to provide you with some advice, or somebody else in the comments might be able to help you out. And till next time, keep rolling those 20s. And I'm looking for my dice, but I'm pretty sure I still don't have a dice.